Welcome to another AMA. I was in Austin last week with Lance, Dylan, Sam, the whole Looks Max and crew. Recorded a podcast with Squid Pactor out there. Ate some barbecue. Tried out this seed oil free place, Ziki Kitchen. You'll see my review on that place soon, but we're going to dive into this week's questions. You've left your questions below. Let's get after it. This question is, Brendan, how can I get sun exposure during the winter? So as we know, sun exposure is extremely beneficial for human health, despite what you might be told by our government to completely avoid the sun. Bring an umbrella, bring a sweatshirt, whatever they say. That's not really true, and we know that from numerous PubMed papers and research. Sun exposure in terms of increasing your level of vitamin D is very hard during the winter months for most people. With that cloud cover there, it's going to be tough to get that adequate sun exposure. What you want to do is in the morning and in the evening, get outside regardless if it's cloudy or not, because you're still getting some of those beneficial UV waves that are basically setting your circadian rhythm. So do that regardless. But you may need to supplement with vitamin D3 to have adequate vitamin D levels during the winter. But I try to fit it in. Like right now in California, the sun's out a little bit. After this, I'll probably basically strip down to my boxers and sit in the sun for a little bit and just get it in when you can. Brendan, what do you think of the Mediterranean diet? So the Mediterranean diet is officially what Western medicine recommends. If you go to a traditional doctor right now and you say, what type of diet should I eat? Now, keep in mind, most doctors get very little education on nutrition. Now, what I think about this is an actual Mediterranean diet is a good diet. However, what it's been co-opted as is a mostly plant-based diet is completely false. When you really look at these regions, they are not eating plant-based. They do eat a lot of plants and grains and stuff like that. However, if you try to recreate that here in the United States, you're not going to be eating the same things. When we look at the grain consumption over there, the grains in Italy and Greece and Europe are vastly different than the grain that we consume in the United States, oftentimes sprayed with glyphosate, oftentimes enriched with folic acid. So if you want to eat a real Mediterranean diet, it's probably going to consist of a lot of fish, some red meat like lamb, definitely some veggies and fruits and stuff like that. A lot of olive oil is the fat that they use over there. That doesn't sound like that bad of a diet to me, but what you're being pushed might be wrong. Brendan, are you ever going to release a Santa Cruz Paleo protein bar? If so, I would buy them all. Well, thank you. The plan is not to release a protein bar in the next few years. We want to work on the tubs of whey protein and more flavors of the bags of whey protein and tubs of the beef isolate, all that. The reason is we can get you protein in a way more affordable manner than if we put it into a bar. Also, my buddy Jake Levy just launched a company called Way Better Bar. This is how I would do a protein bar if we were to launch one. So he kind of already figured it out. So if you want to try that out, look up Way Better Bar, code Santa Cruz. But that's grass-fed whey, grass-fed beef tallow, honey, vanilla, a little bit of sea salt. In the berry one, he has some freeze-dried berry powder. He has a vanilla and chocolate one. Those are amazing. I've been eating those. The other option, if you want a protein bar, is look for Epic bars. They're available almost everywhere, and it's basically just meat. Brendan, what is your honest, unbiased opinion on hot versus cold showers? Now, cold exposure has gotten very popular lately with people doing ice baths, and I've talked about this a bunch, where ice baths every day, in my opinion, are not optimal for muscle hypertrophy, for cortisol levels, and I do not think you should really be doing an ice bath every single day. Now, there are some people that maybe they're struggling with addiction or they're rehabbing themselves in some way, and ice baths can be tremendously beneficial for those people because it's going to cause this release of dopamine that's going to last for hours and hours. And that's why I think some people with these really addictive, personalities or tendencies get addicted to ice baths because of that dopamine release. But that aside, I think doing a hot shower to start out with and then finishing off with cold water for 30 seconds, 45 seconds is ideal. And that is what I do every single time I shower. Brendan, my mom's a doctor and she's constantly telling me that using butter and olive oil is bad for me. What can I do? So your mom just got it wrong. It is what it is, but they were told that butter is bad and you should switch to basically seed oil butter, which is margarine. Olive oil is potentially bad because it is a fat, and you should switch towards canola oil or just sort of eliminate fat overall. There's a really good article in Time magazine saying butter is back. Maybe show her that and be like, hey, you were wrong, Harvard Health even, which is something I'm not a big fan of, but everybody trusts, right? Harvard Health. They even came out and said, hey, dietary cholesterol is not a nutrient of concern. Turns out healthy fats are good for you. It's tough to convince other people, when they're so set in their ways. So I don't know, sneak grass-fed butter in the house and just enjoy. Thoughts on Fairlife protein shake. So Fairlife is so popular because they're very, very cheap, and they say they have about 30 grams of protein. I know they have different varieties, but let's just look at that one. First of all, The amount of gums in there is extremely concerning for me. For a lot of people, when they consume these gums, they have gut issues. Also, we see artificial sweeteners in those. We even see sucralose in some Fairlife products. Sucralose, in my opinion, will be implicated in colon cancer in the next 10 years. It's just my opinion. Do what you want with that opinion. You can consume sucralose if you want. I'm not going to. Also, when we look into the quality of the dairy, in my opinion, the health of the cows is going to affect the overall quality of the food. Fairlife has been sued multiple times because of the quality of their cow farms. So I'm not a big fan of it. If it's like your only source of cheap nutrition, then go for it. I think it's a better option than just not consuming any protein at all. But for me, I'm good off that. Brendan, what do you think about cyber sickness and how can I deal with this? So cyber sickness is basically this new term for basically an illness that is caused by looking at a screen and being stationary all day. Now, this is becoming very common. The first symptoms that people are going to notice is basically right here in your eyes and in basically your head where you would sense migraines right here. So one thing you can do to sort of negate this, maybe you have to work and you have to look at a screen, which is very common for many people. You need to time block this and then go outside and look at something far away. We know from doctors like Andrew Huberman that when you look at something far away, your eyes are basically like a lens. And when you are just looking at something that is really close to you, we're not evolved to do that. This is a very new thing, and our eyes aren't really adapted to this. So if you notice your eyes getting tired, which, man, I was on a flight and I was getting a lot of work done on my phone. It was like a 3-hour flight. I completely noticed this. And when I got off the plane, I tried to go outside and look at some stuff far away because it takes your eyes a little bit to adjust. But this is basically an exercise you can do. So work for 30 minutes, go outside for 5, make sure you don't have your phone when you go outside, get some natural light in your eyes, and focus on something that is far away. That's going to help you right there. The other symptoms of this are basically headaches and, there's tons of symptoms with this disease. The real thing is, guys, if you sit and look at a screen all day, of course your body's going to start to get messed up. What are we talking about? Is this not obvious? People want to give it a name like cyber sickness, but you are just trying to outrun your literal biological reward system. That's not going to work out. So that little tip right there for your eyes can be beneficial, but chunk up your work time and don't just stare at a screen the whole day. Brendan, I have no motivation to complete my assignments at school. I have 45 missing assignments and I see no value in school. So this guy's just not crushing it. Listen, you need to look at it like a game, okay? Yeah, is there like tremendous value in whatever assignments that you have due? Probably not. But are you really just going to go out like that? You're really going to be a loser? Bro, boss out whatever essays you have to do, whatever work you have to do, figure it out. Figure out a way to get it done. You're telling me in this age, you have Chat GPT, bro, and you're really going to fit like, oh, I can't do these assignments. I can't get it done. That's just not cool. I do not think getting bad grades is cool. Is school BS? Yeah, it oftentimes is just sort of teaching you stuff that you're not going to use. Think of it like a game and do well in that game. And if you can't do that, you're going to struggle at other games in life, like making money and being successful. So think about that. Brendan, how do you feel about your life now compared to 5 or 10 years ago? So 5 years ago, I feel like my life was going great, and it still is. It's similar to how it is now, just everything is more right now. I'd already started the business 5 years ago, and I was just on that grind, and I feel like life was great 5 years ago, and it's great now. 10 years ago, I was actually just looking at an email because I'm going to do a piece on how I used to work at Papa John's. And so for some proof there, I have like a lot of stuff from Papa John's in my email from, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. Life was absolutely more difficult when I worked at Papa John's. I'll tell you that for sure. Being broke sucks. And it's something you should, a lot of people go through when they're young. You should figure out how to make some money because, I know the myth, money buys happiness. That's up to a certain point. If you are extremely broke, if you are just have no money coming in, life isn't as fun because there are things you can do with money for your health, for your entertainment, and my life is definitely better now than it was 10 years ago. Brendan, what are your thoughts on vitamin IV drips? These are becoming very popular. There's these places that pop up where you can go get an IV, and they'll do various vitamin drips like B12. They will do glutathione is very popular. I do think there are value in these vitamin IV drips. However, it's really not necessary. When we look at vitamin B12, for example, you can take methylcobalamin or vitamin B12 in dosages, up to 5,000 micrograms per day, and you're going to raise your body's vitamin B12 levels. Now, glutathione, you can also take liposomal glutathione. I sort of think these are a scam in the sense that they're so expensive to go get done. I've gotten liposomal vitamin B12 and glutathione done before, and it's expensive. I really don't see the benefit of that versus just taking liposomal glutathione or methyl B12. So kind of a scam if you have a bunch of money and you want to do it sometimes, probably not going to hurt. Brendan, is there any harm in having the same meal every day? This guy says he's eating the same thing every day, but it's healthy. Is there any harm in that? Listen, if you want to be healthy as a human being, you're going to sometimes need to eat like a dog, okay? And I don't mean eating some low quality food. I'm saying every healthy person I know, everybody who's jacked, all the athletes I know professional athletes, big wave surfers, UFC fighters, a lot of times their meals are beef, rice, blueberries, salmon, rice, blueberries. It's the same thing over and over again. It's a giant bowl of nutrient-dense food, good protein, good carbohydrates, good source of polyphenols, antioxidants, and they will eat this same meal 6, 7, 8 times per week. Eat like a dog if you want to be healthy, okay? This idea that you always need some fancy meal and you always need to just, I am craving this, I'm craving this. You're never going to be healthy if you're just, you just want to eat everything you crave. That's not going to work. Brendan, what do you think of the raw meat and blood diet? So a lot of this raw meat stuff has gotten popular with people like Liver King and Carnivore MD eating some of their meat completely raw. Now, while you can do this with high quality meat, the reality is a lot of people can't get their hands on high quality meat and you really don't know the source. If you read Richard Wrangham's book called Fire, he's an anthropologist that talks about the invention of cooking and how this actually increased basically our ability to transport protein, one, our ability to digest protein because it does help with digestion, cooking does. It helps break down some of those proteins, making it easier for the body to absorb. There's no problem if you enjoy eating some raw meat, but you absolutely do not have to. I don't. Now, occasionally, we went to a steakhouse in Austin, and we did basically almost have some raw meat. We barely seared the little Wagyu skewers, but you don't need to eat raw meat. You don't need to eat blood. There's not some benefits of that are so vast that that's something you should be doing, and you can get sick from raw meat. Especially, of course, raw poultry. Never eat raw poultry. You can definitely get salmonella, and you can get ill from that. And if you're going to Walmart or Safeway and buying some old steak and eating that raw, that is never something I would do. Just cook your meat. You're going to be fine. Brendan, you speak a lot about seed oils, but what are the exact negatives of consuming them both short-term and long-term? Seed oil consumption is one of the hottest topics, one of the hottest debates in health in the last few years. This is, first of all, because our consumption of a fat like soybean oil, for example, has increased 1,000-fold since 1960. And we really haven't seen health improve in this country since then. We've actually seen health deteriorate massively. And there's this debate because seed oils do appear to lower your cholesterol. When you consume seed oils versus saturated fat, it lowers your cholesterol. And so people have clombed onto this and gone, well, this is great. People have high cholesterol, and that's really bad. So we need to consume seed oils to lower them instead of saturated fats. However, lately we have started to realize that cholesterol might not be the boogeyman that we once thought it was in terms of health. And you can see this because there are people that go their whole lives with high cholesterol and never have a heart attack or any disease, heart disease of any sort. There are also people with low cholesterol that get heart attacks. Okay, so you need to understand that. When we look into seed oils, I just did a piece on how there is a Japanese neurosurgeon and neuroscientist. He's a PhD, he's a doctor, and he has written numerous papers about his concerns about basically when you cook seed oils at a high heat, they oxidize and produce this substance called hydroxynonenal. And he is implicating hydroxynonenal in Alzheimer's and basically diseases of your brain, also in cell death. And he's extremely concerned about this. Other doctors are concerned about the ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acids that we have, and that consuming seed oils as your main source of fat can massively throw this off. I definitely agree with that. Now, in terms of if short-term they're going to cause some inflammation that wrecks you, this isn't going to be the case for everybody. Sometimes I'll eat seed oils if I go to Chipotle or In-N-Out, and I don't really feel like completely wrecked by one meal with seed oils. However, I think it is clear by listening to these debates that seed oils, switching out saturated fat like butter, beef tallow, coconut oil, in favor of seed oils like soybean oil and canola oil might not be a good bet for your health. We will see how it plays out. I would listen to your body, see how you feel, and go from there. Brendan, if you had a cat, what would you feed it? So while I would love to tell you I would feed my cat raw steak and, animal-based diet like that, It's probably just like a crazy expense to do that. So the reality is I would probably get them a good grain-free food that is very meat forward. So I'd read the ingredients and make sure that some of those main ingredients are not, corn protein, soy protein, any legumes or grains, because cats are carnivores. So let's just get that straight. They prefer eating meat and fish. Obviously. There's a very, very funny, Joe Rogan has tweeted about this many times. There's a very funny hashtag called vegan cat. This is where people are vegan. They choose to feed their cats a vegan diet. You can just look up this hashtag. Maybe we'll have some things pop up here that are kind of funny.
You will, after this show, go on your phone and check out hashtag vegan cat. And you will be treated to a collection of pets that look like they live in a house with a gas leak.
Basically, it is a series of cats that are extremely sick. They go blind. It's a joke. Cats are carnivores. So I'd probably feed them a good grain-free food that's very meat-heavy. And then I would definitely supplement their diet with some stuff like sardines, maybe some, raw steak here and there. That's what I would do. Brendan, what is your opinion on Zins and nicotine pouches? So these have become so popular lately, and a lot of people basically think that it's a way to get nicotine into their system, and there's not too bad effects of this. And nicotine definitely will give you that feeling that people are going for with that Zin pouch of short-term enhanced cognition. But listen, nicotine is not good for your body. We see studies in where they just look at nicotine and it shows the proliferation of oral cancer cells. So you can get jaw cancer if this becomes an addiction for you and you use these often. And if you really want to look into what happens if you get jaw cancer, is they have to shave off some of your jaw. And I think we're going to have an epidemic of this in about 20, 30 years because all these kids are using these Zin pouches and they just think they're totally fine. When you look at the other ingredients in the Zin pouches, oftentimes they'll have artificial food dyes. You will have artificial sweeteners in every single Zin pouch that is made. There, to my knowledge, is not a Zin pouch that is out there that doesn't have aspartame, sucralose, or asulfame potassium in there. So you're basically putting this thing in your mouth, which is nicotine, artificial sweeteners, some gums, some stabilizers, and sometimes some artificial colors. And you're sucking on that thing because it gives you some sort of enhanced focus. So you think it's a really bad idea for your health, and it's an extremely bad bet. Do you really think the companies selling you these are going to not fund research that shows that nicotine's safe? Yeah, good luck with that. And if you have jaw cancer when you're 40 or 50, that's probably why. Brendan, what is your skincare routine? So my skincare routine is very unique, although more and more people are doing this and realizing the benefits of it. So all I do is I shower. I use a water filter when I shower. So I have an organic Jaguar filter. So I'm going to filter out some of the chlorine and contaminants that are in tap water. Chlorine is extremely drying for your skin. So that's like number one. Those things are cheap. I think it's like 40 something bucks with the code Santa Cruz. And then it comes with a replacement filter. So it's literally like 40 bucks for I think a year of filtered water. So just get that. I mean, that's just simple. And then what I do is after I get out of the shower, I put a small amount of our beef tallow into my hands. I rub it into my hands and I rub it on my face. That is pretty much all I do for my skin. Light bulb went off in my head when I was getting my degree in anthropology at UC Santa Cruz. We would look at these tribes who have no concept of skincare whatsoever. They do not wash their face. They do not apply products to their face. It's not even, would have no idea what a product is. And yet they have flawless skin. Why is that? Well, our skin has its own microbiome, okay? And when you're constantly washing your face, especially with alcohol-based skin, face washes, you are stripping away your skin's natural oils and basically its protective layer. I do not think this is a good idea because what happens, we know this from dermatology, when your skin gets dry, it will compensate with overproduction of sebum. Sebum is not good or bad, but your body is trying to find a balance. This is why you'll see modern skincare companies talk about what type of skin do you have? Do you have oily skin? Do you have dry skin? But in reality, if you find a good balance with that naturally by not using chlorinated water every day and using something that's actually basically matching your skin's natural oils, which is beef tallow, you will find your body sort of resets itself and you're able to have good skin pretty naturally. That's one product right there. Some other things I like to do is you can take raw honey before you shower and put it on your face like a mask. Now, this is extremely affordable and it's super easy to do. And it will not stick to you after. You won't have sticky skin or sticky hair if you get it in your hair. Warm water, honey, rinse that off. That's another thing you can do for skin health. That is pretty much all I do. Skin health starts internally. Your skin is your body's largest organ. So look towards your immune health, your hormone health, and your thyroid health, and your gut health. And that's going to make up the majority of your skin health. Brendan, what are your thoughts on bacon and pork overall as a protein source? So Pork isn't one of my favorite protein sources. That's why you sort of rarely see me use it. Sometimes I'll use some bacon in a recipe here and there or cook some carnitas. But overall, the problem with pork in this country is they are fed corn and soy. So they're basically very, very rich in omega-6 and very low in omega-3 fatty acids. And this can be a problem. Sometimes you can get your hands on really high quality pork. There's a pig farmer that we know, Pajaro Pastures, and he feeds his pigs an amazing diet. Like sometimes they're just fed like apples for a week, or they have this amazing feed that's non-GMO. But let's be real, a lot of people aren't going to get access to that. And when you look at the actual pork meat that he produces, it's like a dark red. It's not just like this white opaque meat. So I really wouldn't eat pork too often. If you like it, then I would suggest just like once a week, something like that. Brendan, I get panic attacks. This guy says his health is very good. He eats a good diet. He's gotten some lab work done, but he still gets panic attacks. What can he do? So you need to start meditating. And what I mean by meditating, do not be scared by that word. I mean, you need to learn how to breathe, and you need to practice breathing for a good amount of minutes per day. I'm talking you should probably be doing 20 minutes of breathing practice per day. Now you're like, Brendan, I know how to breathe. No, you don't if you're getting panic attacks like that. So what you need to practice is being able to box breathe first, just so you can look that up, box breathing. That should be about 10 minutes per day. You're practicing that. You're lying down, no distractions. You're practicing box breathing. And then the next breathing session, I'd probably do in the evening, another 10 minutes. You're going to learn to lengthen your exhale. So it sounds easy. You're like, oh, I can totally do that. But when you really look into it, it's sort of a difficult breathing practice, and to focus on it for 10 minutes is difficult. That's what you're going to do. Get back to me on how that works. And then on the supplement side of things, you can look into L-theanine. You can look into inositol, inositol. Look up that. And you can look into magnesium. All those things are going to help relax your body and help with cortisol. You can look into ashwagandha as well for cortisol mitigation. That might help your panic attacks. Let me know how it goes. Brennan, I'm trying not to mouth breathe, but I have a deviated septum. What can I do? So this is definitely difficult. I broke my nose at one point, so my nose was definitely deviated for a little bit in the weeks until I got it fixed. So that sucked. Now, there are some things that you can do. So there is one practice, you can look it up. You can look up chiropractic nose balloon. And this is where you can have a chiropractor go into your nose. It's sometimes just physical therapists that'll do this as well. They will go into your nose with basically a balloon, and they will make that balloon fill up very, very fast and then pull it out. This has been amazing for some people that have deviated septums. I've never tried this, but you can look this up. Maybe we'll have some stuff pop up here of like people getting it done.
There it goes through. I got it. Oh, wow.
I would look into that if you don't want to get the full like deviated septum nose surgery, because that's a whole operation, tough to get done. What I would also do is invest in a neti pot. A neti pot is a small device. It's like, it should be a few bucks, honestly. And what you're going to do is put in warm salt water. So you're going to warm up some reverse osmosis water, put a good amount of salt in there, stir it up until it's dissolved, and you're going to pour that into your neti pot. And then what you're going to do, you can just look up how to use a neti pot, but you basically pour that into your nose as you tilt your nose, and it'll come out the other side. This is going to clean out your nasal passages, and if you do this before you go to sleep, you might find that your nose is clear. What you can also do in addition to that, after you do that, is get one of those nose strip sticker things there, and I've kind of roasted Alex Hormozy for wearing them 24/7, but they do have their value in opening up the nasal passages. So if you do that neti pot before bed, and then you open up with that nose strip, that can be very beneficial. Let me know how it goes. Brendan, is it bad to go on a calorie deficit as a 16-year-old? So my short answer is, if you are overweight or obese, no, and it's probably really good for you to go into a calorie deficit as a 16-year-old. You do not want to go into a severe calorie deficit unless you're massively obese. But if you're just slightly overweight, you don't want to cut your calories a massive amount. You can actually just go into a very slight calorie deficit where you can still get a lot of good nutrition in and nutrients, yet you can still be losing weight. It's not good to be obese or carry around a large amount of belly fat. So if you're 16 and you're obese, yes, you should go into a calorie deficit. And a lot of people won't tell you that. For some reason, there's this stigma on calorie deficits nowadays. You don't want to go into such a deficit that you're sacrificing nutrition, but you probably should go into a deficit if you are massively overweight. Brendan, is cheese good or bad for you, and how much should you eat? So cheese is actually good for you when it is real cheese. When we look at the nutrient profile of cheese, we look at vitamin K2, we look at vitamin A, we look at calcium. cheese is extremely nutrient dense. It is very rich in calories. So if you're trying to do a strict cut, cheese is going to be difficult to incorporate into your routine. However, it's one of the most nutrient dense foods out there. For many people, they feel that cheese causes them breakouts or skin issues or gut issues. This is often because they cannot digest the lactose. And I have a whole video on my YouTube on how I sort of retrain my body to digest lactose. And now I eat cheese and drink dairy every single day. Now, cheese is one of those foods that low quality cheese has tons of additives. It's barely recognizable as cheese. What I would do if you don't have access to a really good cheese selection, like at a Whole Foods or Sprouts or natural grocery store, I would go for Parmesan. Parmesan is oftentimes pretty unprocessed, and it's also very, very low in lactose. So if you want to sort of try it out, but you're a little bit afraid, go for some Parmesan, because even a lot of people with dairy sensitivities can tolerate Parmesan. I think cheese is great. Brendan, what is your opinion on milk and dairy products from Jersey cows? So Jersey cows and Friesian cows are oftentimes these cows that produce this type of casein, and it's called A2. This is a type of casein protein that is way more tolerable for most people. So if you are consuming casein protein, you probably want it to be from A2 cows. Our whey protein is made from these A2 cows. However, whey doesn't really have trace amounts of casein in whey isolate. So this isn't a major driving factor, but I do feel like it's just a healthier cow overall. So Jersey cows, awesome. All right, guys, I just want to say Merry Christmas to you and your family. I appreciate you guys watching this so much. In the last year, we have grown a lot, and I've been putting in a lot of work just getting you guys information out on health. And I've been getting these DMs and messages and emails and everything of you guys just changing your lives, whether it's through using our products or just changing up your diet. I absolutely love reading those. And at the end of the day, you are the one that is changing your health. I'm just here to provide information and make it accessible for you and make it fun, but you are the person that has to change your health. So if you've been watching me and you're about to enter 2024 and you want to really crush your health goals, I'm telling you, now is the time to do it. Do not wait. Get after it. It's 2024. You can make a massive change in your health in just 30 days. So I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. If you want to get some last minute Christmas gifts, although, hey, they're probably not going to arrive by Christmas at this point, but if you want to get some gifts for the new year, jumpstart your health, go to santacruzpaleo.com, use the code SantaCruz10, or go on Amazon, type in Santa Cruz Paleo. The pre-workout is probably going to launch December 30th. So keep an eye out for that, because those will fly off the shelves. Pre-workout's absolutely amazing. Completely natural pre-workout. Man, I've been using that for a month and I absolutely love it. Get after it. Appreciate you guys. Talk to you in 2024.